Welcome to the Joe Jenkins podcast, where we highlight the great things happening right here in Beavercreek and Greene County. I'm Joe Jenkins, and today we've got some great community highlights, upcoming events, and a few thoughts to send you into your week. So I have two great guests with us today. I have Chief Hawker and Assistant Fire Chief Dustin Harrison with us today. Thank you guys both for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So you guys want to talk a little bit about, you guys talk about, I guess we can start with you if you want.
Okay. Yeah, so my name's Christine Hawker. I'm the new fire chief for the Beavercreek Township Fire Department as of January 15th. So I was the interim chief prior to that. Started that in September. So following up all the great work that Chief Vandenbos did for the organization. I graduated from Wright State University with a Bachelor of Science in Education. Went on to teach for 10 years prior to entering the fire service. Once I entered the fire service, I started with Washington Township in 2000, and then I became a part-time firefighter here at Beavercreek in 2002, and served as a firefighter, a lieutenant, a captain, a division chief, assistant chief, and now taking on the role of the fire chief. So super excited about that, and super excited for our organization and the senior staff that I have. We are an amazing team, and we're doing some great things, and look forward to continuing to do some great things. I've also completed the Ohio Fire Chiefs Executive Class, as well as I am a credentialed fire officer through CPSE.
Nice.
Yes.
It's just like so much. Like it's just so impressed by you and all the stuff that you've accomplished and your new role as fire chief of the township. So
well, thank you. It's not just me; it's my team.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Dustin Harrison, I'm a 1997 graduate of Beavercreek High School, so it's kind of cool to be working in the community that I grew up in. Started with Beavercreek Fire Department right after graduation, so graduated in May of 97 and started working there in September. So they had the paid on call program, which was kind of like the volunteer program back then. Got career in 2000, and then kind of like Chief Hawker, worked my way through the ranks, got a lieutenant and then the captain, division chief, and then just recently into the assistant chief position. Yeah. So been with the department a long time, but yeah, it's very exciting to see where we're at right now, just the opportunities that we have because of our great community support and the staff that we have assumed right now, really making a lot of progress and moving things forward. So it's pretty exciting.
Nice. That was actually one of my questions I was going to have you guys talk about. Do you mind giving us like just a brief overview of the department, like size, staffing, and just
Sure.
areas of service?
So our service area is approximately 48 square miles, which encompasses the entire township as well as the city.
I think that's a hot question. Like, no, not some people are like, well, I live in the city. Like, no, the township resides in the city. So yeah.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So we cover both the city and the township as the fire department. We operate out of 5 stations. We have 57 firefighters, 15 lieutenants, 3 captains. We have 1 fire marshal, 2 fire prevention specialists. We have 3 division chiefs, 1 assistant chief, and then the chief. We also have an administrative professional, and we have an EMS billing specialist, and then we have a zoning/prevention administrative professional as well.
Nice.
Yep.
So a little bit about the what are the fire and EMS capabilities of Beavercreek Township's fire department?
Yeah, so all of our employees, firefighters, are cross-trained in both EMS and firefighting. So that's not unique to our area in Ohio. So most of them are paramedics. We do have some EMTs that are, and a lot of those are trying to get their paramedic certification. So that's allows us to provide both fire capabilities on no matter which piece of apparatus shows up, and EMS capabilities. So all of our fire engines have EMS equipment on it, and they're able to provide advanced life support care as well as our ambulances. So the only capability difference really is the ability to transport between what skills our firefighters have that are on the fire engines and those on the ambulance.
Nice.
Then we also have technical rescue disciplines. So auto extrication being the primary one that we obviously have a lot of risk with that, with all the highway coverage that we have within our jurisdiction. But then we also have water training. So a lot of we have obviously the river that runs through Beaver Creek, but a lot of the standing water, a lot of the apartment complexes and things that have ponds, and so there's actually quite a bit of water throughout the community if you look at it on a map. So we wanted to be prepared to address any emergency that might happen, in those areas as well. Hazmat, rope, machine extrication, trench rescue. I mean, we have folks that are trained kind of across the board, so it's pretty neat aspect of our department.
Nice, very nice. I didn't know. I was honored I got to go do a ride along actually, and just also over at the all the behind the scenes stuff, like with the green and the fire suppression and all that stuff. So it was quite interesting. I'd recommend anybody who wants to do a ride along. Then I would. It's amazing what this department does. For Beavercreek and Beavercreek Township. What calls for service make up majority of your guys' workload?
So over the last 3 years, a majority of our calls have been EMS calls. The majority of those are service calls, lift assist, calls to assisted living facilities. And those make up about 72% of our call volume, as well as if you take the fire call types only, our biggest volume there are the service calls as well as the false alarm calls. So those make up over 50% of our fire call types.
Do you get those a lot, like a lot of the accidental dials?
We don't get necessarily accidental dials, but we get false fire alarms where maybe a pull station was pulled accidentally, or fire suppression system goes off due to not working properly. Those types of things.
I gotcha. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the apparatus and the stations and the district's current structures.
Yeah, so we currently have 5 fire stations, so they're kind of strategically spread out throughout the community. It's kind of neat. One of the things when we look at we call the standards of cover, it's kind of like where we can respond, across the community. Obviously a lot of the fire stations have been there for a significant period of time, where they are. The Station 65 is our newest building, but that property had been in the township for, decades. So it's kind of neat to see that those things are actually strategically located kind of where they needed to be, and especially to address the growth that's happened in the community. So, yeah, right now 5 stations. Each of those, 4 of the 5 are staffed with an ambulance and a fire engine. And then the Station 61 has our rescue, so it's cross-staffed with a rescue and a ladder company. And then obviously we have the plans for the 6th station, down the road.
So, when you talk about response time, where do you guys kind of want to be when you guys strategically place these stations? What is your average call time? Do you want to get to an actual location?
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking for travel time is 4 minutes.
Okay.
It's kind of our benchmark of what we're looking for travel time. So, there's other factors that obviously go into that. We have the call processing time. So from the time the dispatcher picks up the 911 call until they send equipment, because they have to ask, some questions, get some answers from the caller. And then obviously once the tones go off, our folks have to respond to that and get out to the apparatus and get on there. So there's a bunch of things that kind of factor into the total time. But what we're looking for travel time is to shoot for that 4-minute mark.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. So I was it last year. I thought I was dying on my living room floor from a kidney stone, and I was impressed at how fast it was. I was dying, and all of a sudden you guys were there. So grateful for both of you and that response time. What is the biggest operational strength as an organization that you guys see?
Yeah, so our biggest operational strength as an organization are our members. Our members are what run our organization. Our members are the ones who respond and take care of the community. They provide excellent customer service, as well as they are professionally and highly trained individuals that focus on training, which is another operational strength of ours. We provide a great deal of training to our organization members. Excuse me. And then we also utilize a Blue Card incident command system. That's another strength of ours, which allows us to communicate on scene at incidents, and allows that communication to be structured so that everyone's on the same page, as well as when we bring in mutual aid companies, that also helps with that communication piece.
Okay. One thing I did want to ask, so I noticed that you guys are always in the community. So
Can you talk about like how does your department engage with like service in communities upon just past like emergency response?
Yeah, so that's one of the big things. It's that especially our staff now, we're really focused on trying to expand upon that. I think it's important that the community knows who we are and that we are an asset. Obviously it starts, our ground roots part of that is getting with the schools and trying to get with the kids and make sure that they're not afraid of the firefighters and, teaching them the basic fire safety stuff. But beyond that, we do community CPR classes that we offer. So we offer those monthly to just any community member. And then a lot of our businesses throughout Beavercreek will coordinate with our instructors to get CPR training for their employees as well. So we coordinate those. We also have a cadet program, which is designed for youth that are interested in the fire service career. So we have a program set up for 16 and above to be able to come in and go through some kind of basic training type of things. They have to show up and participate, and then after they kind of reach some benchmarks, then they have an opportunity to go do some ride time. So it's a neat opportunity that has to provide folks that want to get exposed to that. Unfortunately in Greene County we don't have a career center fire service program, so that's something that we obviously would like to reach out to and expand, potentially in the future. But for now, we at least have this cadet program that gives folks an opportunity to get exposed to the career and see if it's something that they may want to pursue, after high school. And then, we have the Popcorn Festival that we're involved in every year.
That's always my favorite.
Yeah.
I think hopefully this year I can maybe get one of you to take me up all the way up at the top. I like maybe this year.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It may not be us, but maybe one of our members.
It'll be
for sure.
somebody, right?
Yeah, and then the other big event that we do annually is the Fire Prevention Open House, which is coordinated with the city's Touch a Truck. So, those are big events that draw a pretty significant crowd, to our department, and allows us an opportunity to showcase just kind of some of the, like you said, behind the scenes things that we offer. We've also been participating in the city's Citizen Academy program.
Okay.
So they come to our department during one of their weeks of the Citizens Academy, and that's been a neat experience the last couple of years to be involved in that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It just gives people the ability to reach out to you guys. Like you said, I like that. It's like, hey, firefighters, we're good people, and they're not afraid of you guys. So
Yeah, last week I attended the preschool farm day, so that was
Nice.
a lot of fun. Got to hold some baby animals. That was hang out with the
I love
pre-K
that.
students. That was
that's
kind of fun.
awesome. That's awesome. No. Next question I have for you guys is, what is the biggest strategic challenges facing your department right now?
So right now, one of the biggest strategic challenges is basically maintaining current and needed staffing levels with the increased call volume. So trying to maintain that balance has been very difficult as our call volume has increased, and it's something that we're going to be focusing on in the future for our next 10-year funding plan is staffing. As we focused a lot on capital purchases in our previous 10-year funding plan, we are still currently in that 10-year funding plan, but looking forward and forecasting to the future, staffing is definitely going to be a need, and as the call volume increases, the staffing
And the growth,
staffing need, the growth plays a big part in that as well.
So, like, just a quick, I don't know if you don't have the numbers, you don't have them, but I mean, can you kind of give us an idea of how your call volume has grown significantly over like the last 5 years?
So last year we did over 8,000 calls.
Wow.
The year before that we did just above 7,500 calls.
Wow.
So
It's a lot of calls when you think about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot
I
of
remember
calls.
when I started, we were excited to get to 4,000 calls. So it's definitely.
And it's like, be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
That's great. What are the top priorities moving forward, kind of as an organization?
Chief talked about our 10-year funding plan. So, we've committed to that model. Up to this point, we're in our second one of those now, about halfway through it. So, the thing we've tried to do there is have an opportunity to not come back to the voters so frequently, for levies. Property tax levy is our primary source of funding.
That's a hot button. That's
It
a hot
is
button right now,
it is a hot-
That's a hot button.
Yeah. But until something changes, that's where we are. So we try to appreciate the the fatigue that voters have with, continuing to have levies on the ballot and levies on the ballot. So we've committed to this 10-year funding plan. We did it 09 to 19, and then, did another one to get us through to 2029. So, trying to make sure where we are in that, because we're, more than halfway through now. So just trying to make sure that we're good, and then planning for the next one. What are our needs going to be, in the future? Chief talked about staffing. I mean, obviously personnel are our biggest expense, but they're also our biggest asset, and we can't do anything without them. So we've got to try to incorporate that and make sure that we're providing the level of service that the community expects, and that we think they deserve.
Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for me. You guys are kind of like top shelf, and I think that's for you guys to always want to continue to grow. You guys do fantastic in so many different, categories, and then always trying to raise the bar. I think
that's one of the things that's super important for us, as an organization. Like I said, for me personally, living in Beavercreek, growing up here, community service and customer service, so to speak, is super important to us. When we get called to someone's house, whether it be for an EMS or a fire incident, it's a bad day in their life, and the last thing we want is for us to make it any worse. We want to have that positive impact and be able to provide them with, as positive of an experience as it can be. Obviously it's never a great thing when we have to take somebody to the hospital or put out a fire, at their home, but we want them to know that we've done everything we can do, to try to help that situation. So.
Yeah, and like speaking of that, because you guys want to talk about the, you guys are lucky we have certain people that respond to fires that are volunteers. Do you guys want to touch on that a little bit at all?
Sure. So we have what's called an auxiliary team. There's over 80 some members in the auxiliary now. They respond on any significant event within the fire department, and they provide on-scene assistance. So they provide water for our personnel, they provide snacks, they provide and assist with rehab, as well as they have a team for camaraderie events. So we do a bowling event every year, so that's kind of fun with the families, and they also do on-scene victim assistance, and then they also provide CERT. So CERT is our Citizen Emergency Response Team, and there are over, I believe, 25 members of the auxiliary that also serve on the CERT, and they provide that assistance. For instance, if we go back to the 2019 tornado, they would provide assistance during those time frames.
Yeah, it's a great. If you want to get involved with the fire department, that's a great start as as a volunteer. So
yeah, they're a great resource, and they provide us additional manpower on scenes.
Yeah. Like you said, it's helpful. Like I've been lucky to be a part of a couple of them, just to be able to help with residents. Like you said, they're losing a house right now, due to a fire, and just to accommodate them it's special.
Yeah, they do a wonderful job with the victim assistance.
Yes. So. What motivates the Beavercreek Township Fire Department to pursue accreditations?
Well, I'll have to take that one. So one of the roles that I assumed when I got promoted was the accreditation manager. Accreditation is really kind of a neat process, and you talked about a little bit before our pursuit of excellence, so to speak. So we want to continue to push ourselves to new heights, every day. So the accreditation is it's a continuous improvement model, essentially. So it allows us an opportunity to kind of evaluate ourselves from the top down. So there's a couple of different sections of it. The first is a community risk assessment. So it kind of looks at what risks exist within your community. So we look at the entire jurisdiction. What kind of we talked about, like the water hazards and things like that, but buildings that store hazardous materials, and obviously the highway presents different challenges. And so you kind of look at that, and then you create the standards of cover document, which we also referenced earlier. And that is, how are you going to address all of those risks? So what are you putting in place as an organization so that you're prepared to handle all the risks that you've identified kind of throughout the process? And then you go into the self-assessment portion of it. So you look at, all right, this is what we've done, or this is what we said exists. This is how we say we're going to handle it. Now, how well is that working for you? So it's kind of like a business model, for those that are in the public sector that have to come up with a business plan of what your intentions are, how you're going to do it, what's the funding, all that. It's a similar model that we use for that, but it really forces you to evaluate yourself as an organization from the bottom to the top and left and right and every direction. We worked with the Greene County Sanitary Engineering because the water component plays obviously into it. Our township public service that takes care of all the maintenance on our apparatus and stations. We have to coordinate with them, with the finance department. So it's really just a full comprehensive dive into, what you're doing as an organization and what your plans to improve are. And the neat part about it is then that's vetted by, third-party industry leaders. So folks that are involved in the industry from all across the United States. They get a team together. They review all your documentation. If if you hit all the benchmarks that they require, there's 315 performance indicators that you have to write to and answer to.
That's a lot. You think about it. That's a lot.
Oh yeah. So like I said, it's extremely comprehensive. But so if they look at the information and they like what they see, then they will come do a site visit. So we actually just had ours a few weeks ago.
I was going to touch on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had representatives from we had North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Alabama, and Chicago area, Illinois, all on our peer team. So they came in and kind of looked at everything that we had written to, all the documents, did interviews with countless folks, and just try to validate and verify all the information that we provided to them. So the final step then is to go in front of the commission. So there's a commission board of 12 folks that will evaluate, all of the documentation again and see where we're at and go from there. We did get a recommendation to go and sit in front of the commission. So that was exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah, it's a big step for us.
And that deserves one of those
I know, right? I was going to ask you. I'm like, I got to figure out.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so we'll go sit in front of the commission in August, and as long as we have addressed any of the some of the recommendations and made some progress, and that they don't have anything that we can't answer for some reason, then we'll become an accredited agency in August. So we're looking forward to that.
That's big time. It's exciting. I was going to ask. How does the accreditations impact your strategic planning and goal setting?
So basically the biggest thing it did for us is it evaluated our internal stakeholders and our external stakeholders, and what that process did for us, it evaluated what those stakeholders wanted from our fire department. So now we're able to put those pieces and parts together with all of our evaluations, our risk assessment, our self-assessment, going through all those processes and putting measures and metrics in place, standards in place, all these processes that will help us identify the end results of what we're doing so we can have a continuous evaluation year after year to say, yes, we're doing what we said we were going to do, we're doing it well, so continue that or make minor adjustments, and if we're not doing it well, then what can we do to improve that particular process?
Makes sense.
Yeah, it just really helps with that long-term planning, to set some goals, set some benchmarks, and then hold yourselves accountable, to reach them. Obviously, there are unforeseen things that happen, and we have to be able to adjust. But as a fire service industry, we're used to that. We have plan A through G, usually at least, for for how we're gonna problem solve. But having that guideline and that goals established really helps you move forward as an organization.
Yeah, and it was really neat to see and hear what the internal and external stakeholders had to say regarding our service and what they expected from us. We did a whole SWOT analysis for both internal and external components and compared all that, and it was really interesting to evaluate. So nice. It was a neat part of the process.
That's awesome. So last question, okay. How do you evaluate station placement and staffing? I know we touched a little bit on that, but I figured we could just go a little more onto it because I know there's another station that we're trying to get online as well. So maybe you guys want to touch a little bit on that.
Yeah. I mean, so we talked about the preliminary thing is the travel time. So that was kind of our first benchmark or metric. But it doesn't do us much good to have a station within 4 minutes of just empty vacant land, right? Because the risk factor is so much lower there. So then the next component of that is looking at potential growth. So, throughout the township, we know that there are already, approved home sites that have already been approved. There's already zoning changes that have been, approved for some additional commercial properties and things like that. So we take that into consideration and try to determine when is the right time to take action. So, we could build a station there today and the call volume isn't there yet, but if we wait a few years, we know the growth that's going to occur.
It's that strategic planning, everyone working together.
Yeah, so, having the foresight, 7 or 8 years ago now to kind of establish that, like, hey, this is what is coming down the road, has put us in a position to have, funds set aside to be able to build that station when the timing is right, to try to keep the promise that we made to the community. The development has been a little bit slower than we initially anticipated, so we haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. But we are being diligent about still keeping that in mind and trying to move forward with that for the community.
Yeah, because we talk about the growth. It's coming. We can't stop it.
Yeah, and the second component of that with the staffing piece, that's something we're just always continuing to evaluate. So one of the things we look at is we call it unit hour utilization, but it's how many hours out of the day a particular piece of equipment is available or not. So call volume obviously is the biggest driver to that, but then turnaround time. So like the ambulances, they have a shorter unit or a longer unit hour utilization because when they go to the hospital, they have to write the report, transfer care to the hospital and things like that. Whereas the fire engine is on the scene and then they get to go right back to the station. So trying to evaluate that, in some of that as well to determine, all right, when is there a time when we need 2 ambulances at one fire station?
Absolutely.
Because, does that make more sense than putting one somewhere else? So, not that any of that's happening right now, but we always have to preface that. But,
right.
Those are the things we have to evaluate.
Yeah, we'll evaluate some of that with our deployment analysis. So the deployment analysis, not only where people belong, which station they belong at, how many people at each station, but also where the apparatus needs to be placed to best serve our community.
Yeah, that's exciting. Listen, I have to say, I don't want to stay too long, but I just want to thank both of you. I'm honored I get to see you guys and work with both of you, and we are so lucky to have you two in our township. So I just want to thank you for coming on today and just telling us what's going on in the township for the fire department.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. We enjoy serving the community. The community is very good to us, and we appreciate anybody that would like to stop by. Say hello.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It's neat to. We always like when we get to talk to somebody when it's not an emergency.
Yeah.
So like Chief said, feel free to reach out, stop by our admin building anytime. We want to be as transparent as possible, with the community and give them all the information they need, to feel good and confident about their fire department.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you for listening. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to Joe Jenkins on the Joe Jenkins Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Joe Jenkins Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And if you have some exciting news that you want to share, please reach out at joejenkinspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.